Hi everyone once again. So this is going to be a quick tutorial, 101 Excel hacks tutorial about this dashboard, this bill of material dashboard that was built in Microsoft Excel. Let me move it to full screen view so that we can look through this dashboard. So unlike my typical videos where I do I do a recording of my creative process. I am walking through an already built dashboard. Yeah, part of it is my fault because for some reason I thought I wasn't going to um I thought I wasn't, this was a brainwave. I wasn't sure I was going to complete this project. So that's the reason why I don't have a full on video recording, but I'm going to make this project public. So I am walking through this dashboard and how it was built. So the first stuff, what I would like to draw your attention to, this was built in Microsoft Excel, fully built in Microsoft Excel. First of all, for those that might just be coming to my channel and might wonder whether this kind of build is possible in Microsoft Excel, yes, it is. And this is an interactive bill of material dashboard. Over here at the top of the dashboard, there is a drop down to select a product. So the view that we're looking at right here is showing the data, the material, manpower, machinery, money, and basic product detail data for one product. So this is based on a hypothetical beverage factory that has 5 different products: the Tropic Twist, Spice Pop, Cool Mint, Berry Buzzet, things. This was all the data behind here. This is not a real factory. This imagery is AI generated, and all the data here was randomized and generated dummy data. But this is just a walkthrough for what a conceptual model of what a bill of material dashboard would look like if you were to bring all the different tables that make up bill of material data and put them in one view so that the business decision makers can make very informed decisions on the position, on their ability to produce or produce profitably for the month. So back to this drop-down panel, like I typically do, this is colored out Excel. This is just a bunch of cells with the fill color in this particular color. And then I brought in this form control. I'll step it down to show you how I brought in the form control from the developer tab. The developer tab is not usually visible. You might have to go to file options and enable the developer tab. But to bring up a form control, a combo box, you go to the developer tab and then you go to, I have this document, the sheet was protected. That's why you could not see it. So I'm going back again. I go to the developer tab and I go to form controls in the control sub tab, and I go to insert. And even if you might not know where to find it, if you hover over them, the name will come up. So you hover until you find the combo box. You click that, it gives you this arrow, and then you draw it out, and then you have your form control. And then you program your form control by formatting, going to format control, right click format control to select the input range and select the cell link that will be connected, cell that will be connected to this form control. This form control is integral because it is how the interactivity in this dashboard is powered. I'll right click to show you the programming behind it. So in the format control of this one, it would show you that somewhere in the back end, in one of the back end sheets, I have a list of all the products. And when I click into it, it shows you that list. So this is the list of all the 5 products. This cell link is what is driving the interactivity in this dashboard. And that has already been set up. And the impact of what I just demonstrated is that whenever I go into this drop down and I click a new product, all the data in the dashboard updates itself. So I've clicked Tropic Twist. Now we have a different image. We have different data. Let me move back to full screen view. I can go to another one. It's updated the data, it's updated the image. The next one, keep an eye out on the image, keep an eye out on the data in all the sections. Very bursts. And it's aesthetic thing. Again, this is all AI generated imagery. These are not real actual products. This is all dummy data. And so another thing that you might have noted was that as the drop down selection was made, not only was the picture changing, the label here for the product was changing, the name details were all changing, this data was changing, this data was changing, just data fields. And they were changing to update them so that the data relevant to the selected product was being brought in. Now, how is that all happening? There are 4 different tables in the back end: a material table, a table containing all the details on all the materials. And this table is structured. You have all the materials, you have their corresponding products, and then you have all the data, quantity per batch, quantity in stock, lead time, and a supply risk index, which I just computed. And I have different people have different ways of computing their risk index, but I just developed a particular computation for purpose of this demonstration. It's not hard and fast. So all of that data that you see in the front end is coming from a table in the back end that has all the information for all the products again there. And then I would spend some time talking about the formulas that are allowing a filter operation, a selection of the very specific products out of all the data in that table. So in addition to the material table, we also have table for manpower as is tagged, and it has the personnel, the products, pay per hour, number of working hours, availability, essentially all the data that you see in the sections as well, and then all those pictures too were AI generated. For the machinery, you have the image of the machines, and then you also have a machinery data table, similarly set up like the other ones, and it has all the data. And I computed a risk index. The indexes I computed were they're driven by conditional formatting, and I'll just quickly talk about the conditional formatting that you see on this dashboard. There is the traffic light conditional formatting, which changes anytime. You will notice that changes when a different product is selected. There's the color, the cell color gradient change, cell color conditional formats, and then you have the trending arrows up or downward. These are conditional formatting, and these are a quick visual way that a user of the dashboard can, at a glance, identify the areas of challenge. So the conditional formatting was put in here so that you can quickly see the areas that need attention. Red meaning needs attention, green meaning good to go, and yellow meaning in at risk. So a decision maker on the production end can quickly see the materials that are at risk, materials that are really need attention, materials that are good to go for the production of this beverage. Likewise, they can see the resources or personnel that they might be at risk based on their availability. So this whole at risk setup here was just computed on availability, as I noted in the back end, and I explained the logic. And even when you step in there, you can see the computation that is. I'm looking at machinery over here. So the availability is what's driving the risk index or the conditional formatting, while a combination of these three indices of machinery is what's driving the risk index. The combination of these three indexes, three metrics or data points is what's driving this index. And I have notes explaining that, notes in gray background, explaining background in the back end sheet. So I'm not going to speak too much on those. So things I want to quickly point out, which is making adding the value adding features in this dashboard. Of course, the color coded sections that allow you to easily, with the difference in the field background color, allow you to easily identify the different sections in this background, because the bill of material has multiple components. It's typically described as in using the 5M or 4M for the purpose of this. So in thinking of production, you think about the material component, you think about the manpower components, the machinery component, and of course a money component. So this dashboard was one way to bring all four components together in an easy to look at visualization that is appealing, aesthetically appealing, and then also allows a user to visually identify the areas of problem so that they can quickly go and drill down. So the value adding features, the color coded sections. So you can see that even though it's largely blue, the M sections, except the money sections, but they are variant of colors. And these variants of colors is as easy as to set it up, it's as easy as just changing the background, the fill color in the cell. You select a range of cells and you just change their fill color to this fill color. That's how easy that was to set up. So color coded sections to distinguish the sections. The second feature was is the conditional formatting that allows the user to quickly identify the areas that require attention. The third value-added feature, which is the key feature that driving interactivity, is the dropdown that you use to select the different products. And then on selecting that product, all the data in the dashboard updates to show the data relevant to that product. And then the fifth feature, of course, it's a nice thing for some builds. It might be considered a nice to have. Is this linked picture, a picture that updates when a selection is made or when data changes. It's referred to as a linked picture in Microsoft Excel. And I'm going to link one of my previous tutorials that explains how to set up a link picture. I want to keep this particular tutorial as short as possible, but this is basically a link picture. And if I click into it, you will see that it is connected to a dynamic range. A dynamic range means whenever you go to the name manager in the formula section, you would see it's cell link, and then it has this interesting formula that is driving that dynamic nature of the dynamic range. But I will link that tutorial so where I give a much more detailed explanation of how to set up a link picture. So that's the third or fourth value adding feature. I think it's the third. Let me recap. Number one, color coded sections. Number two, conditional formatting. Number three, drop down form control. Number four, a linked picture just for the aesthetics. There's an aesthetic value and it also has a utilitarian value as well. Number five is really the referencing. So another something I do a lot. Every data point on this dashboard is able to update because it's referencing data in the backend or is a computed data point. So all of this, if you click into all the data that is updated, you will notice, just keep an eye on the formula bar as I'm moving around, you will notice that they are all computed figures or they are all referencing some data in the backend. But because they are tables we're working from, so these ones are hard coded because based on this hypothetical organization, the monthly working hours are fixed for every worker on the roll, so and their paper hour is also fixed. So these ones are the only hard-coded data points. It's usually not good practice to hard-code data points in a visualization, but again, this is this wasn't a very extensive. I didn't intend for this to be an extensive build, but in the final version, I'm going to make it available. I'm going to remove the hard coding so that this is dynamic. This dynamically comes forward just like this other data points over here. And I'll get into why this particular formula is as complex as it is. There are other ways, there are easier ways, but I wanted to use this particular dashboard to showcase two different methodologies or two different ways that you can get data, reference data from tables that are set up like this, that have multiple points of referencing. So in the visualization, when I want to call forth, for want of a better word, when I want to reference any of this data, in the front end, I need to reference two variables. I need, if I want, for instance, this data points, I need to it to match, I need to get the utilization rate for tropic twists, not just tropic twist, for the capping machine for tropic twists. So I'm checking two variables. I'm checking three in total. So that's why you see that complex index match. So there's a complex index match operation that is allowing me to be able to look up a particular data point that has two variables involved or that meets two criteria. So it's indexing. It's a combination of index match. Again, I don't know whether I want to spend too much time talking about it. I can, if there is a special request for how to use index match in this dashboard, I can do maybe a write up, a blog, or an additional video. But there are simpler ways to do this reference. But I just wanted to let this dashboard explore how to use index match array formula and offset formula. So we have index match for this section for the manpower, bringing in the manpower data, and then we also have index match as well, bringing in the machine data. But here we have offsets. So I'm kind of torn whether to. So it's not just offsets, offset indirect rows and columns. I'm not convicted or convinced that I want to do a walkthrough on how to run this complex lookup operations because there are easier ways. You can set the data behind up as a pivot table. But I just wanted to use this. But if there's interest in how they were set up, I can do an updated video. So just let me know in the comment section if you want to see that. And then the final part of this dashboard is another element of interactivity where I like to keep on going to the full screen so that you can see the whole thing when I start to interact with the dashboard. So this section can be updated. It's a profit model section where you can use all the data available to model out what the potential revenue, gross profit, and net profit would be for a product based on the number that has been produced. And it's always assuming that you will not sell less than 10,000 units. That's why you have a fixed gross margin, 19%, which has factored this total monthly production cost and some other overheads, again, based on hypothetical data. So if I update this data from 12,000 units to 20,000 units, all the information below updates. So it's a model where you can run scenarios or simulations to identify how much the revenue, gross profit, net profit will be based on the gross and net margins for each of the products. And I believe each product has its own different gross and net margin based on the data behind. When I was working through tables, this is referencing tables from the backend. Material is referencing tables in the backend. Manpower is referencing tables in the backend. Machinery is referencing a table in the backend. This data is also referencing a table from the backend, and that table is known as the product table. So all of this information is available. Only money, well, this data point is referencing because in the products table, we have the monthly production targets, but everything else is computed with the sum of the data that is visible in the visualization layer. So these are sums of money, material, sums of manpower, sums of machine. Overhead is estimated to be a percentage, 40% of all the other costs, and this is the sum of everything else. So, like I said, I want to keep this walkthrough really short. But if you think you want me to spend more time talking through one part or the other, just let me know in the comment section, and I might